Karakia na tātou. Tihei Māori ora. Tuia ki te rangi, tuia ki te whenua. Tuia ki te moana nui a kiwa. Tuia ki te here tangata. E rongo te pō, e rongo te ao. Tūturu whakamaoa ki a tīna. Homi e hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora koutou, no mai haere mai ki te hui. Ko Mark Orams taku ingoa. My name's Mark Orams. My pleasure to welcome you to this final event of the 2024 AUT Research Week, Te Wiki Rangahau. It's a pleasure to have you here, and thank you so much for giving up your time on a Friday afternoon when many people in the university community consider the university to be well closed and everybody should be home or heading for home. So thank you so much for giving up your time to be here for the 3-minute thesis competition prize giving and announcements. Much appreciated. I want to acknowledge not only our postgraduate students who are here and our entrants, but also I see some of their supervisors who are here as well. Whānau, family members, friends, you are all very welcome at this event. It's my pleasure now to introduce our Master of Ceremonies for this particular event, Professor Nigel Harris, the Dean of the Graduate Research School. Au mai ki paki paki.
Mark, my good colleague, ngā mihi nui kia koe for the mihi and words of welcome. Thank you. So, tēnā koutou katoa. My name's Nigel Harris. I'm the Dean of the Graduate Research School, as Mark said, and it's a pleasure to be MC this afternoon on the 2024 AUT 3MT competition. And I'd also like to welcome those who are with us in the live stream, the live audience, through the camera. Welcome. It's good to have you all on board as well. Now, this year's competition is for doctoral students only, so that's a slight departure from previous events, and it is in a video-only format. So, of course, that's a very contemporary format that has been sprung upon us over the last few years of the little bug that's been circulating, and it has kind of stayed with us, and that's the format that we've chosen to use for the 3MT, or has become the 3MT. So I'd like to give you an overview of the competition before we dive into it. The 3MT competition was developed at the University of Queensland in 2008, and it's been running ever since then. The concept is simple, and doctoral students explain their complex research in 3 minutes, believe it or not, with only one slide. So that's a challenge in and of itself. And their challenge is to make their advanced research accessible so they can communicate it and boil it down or distill it for non-specialists. So that is an entire set of skills right there. 3MT competition is held in over 900 universities in more than 85 countries internationally. So it is not just New Zealand, Aotearoa and Australia, it's around the world. The winner tonight, who you will find out shortly in due course, will represent AUT at the international level, competing at the Asia Pacific Finals in October, coming up very soon. Now, it is a prestigious competition, so our finalists, you can be proud of the fact that just by getting this far, you've already succeeded in one of the world's tough competitions in terms of presentation of research. You've risen to the challenge. You had to distill, but you had to capture in one slide, and then you have to time it in 3 minutes. And the thing is, if you don't, you're disqualified. So you can't go any longer than 3 minutes and 1 second. Now, you ask any academic that's had to present, that's a bit of a challenge in and of itself. So congratulations just for achieving that. That's no mean feat. So over the past few weeks, our judges have narrowed down a talented field of entrants, and there's just 3 finalists, and you'll see their videos very shortly. For their efforts, there's some great prizes on offer, and I'd like to acknowledge our 2 sponsors, AUT's Graduate Research School, that most of us would know as the GRS, and also AUT's ICT Services and their supplier partner Cyclone. Thank you very much to the 2 sponsors for providing the prizes for these 2 awards. Now, you have a say in this tonight, so fairly soon you are going to see a QR code pop up on the screen, and I'm guessing also at home for the online viewers. So get your mobiles ready. You don't need to film anything because they'll be available later, but you can scan that QR code and you will have a say in choosing one of the awards tonight, the audience favourite presenter. and they will win a $500 research award from the Graduate Research School. Now, the winner of the overall competition, so that's the winner of the AUT 3MT competition, will receive from our supplier, our sponsor, AUT ICT Services, and their supplier partner Cyclone, a HP Pro Book X360 435 G9 with a pen from ICT Services and supplier partner Cyclone, and the $500 research award from the Graduate Research School. So some pretty fantastic prizes there. Thank you to both of our sponsors. Now the judging panel. There are 4 judges, and I'd like to introduce all 4 to you, and you'll see them on the screen. One of them you have met already, our Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Research, Professor Mark Orams. Lukman Hayes is our Research Services Senior Manager at Te Mata Puna. Dr. Michelle Ladwig-Williams is a Researcher Education and Development Specialist at the Graduate Research School. Michelle's over there. Thank you, Michelle. And competitors who has very much been in your shoes, but not just in your shoes, who was a prior winner of the competition last year, in fact, 2023, and that is Madeline Hayward, winner of the 2023 AUT 3MT competition. So thank you to our 4 judges. The rules. As the MC, I have the honour of relaying to you the set of rules. Now, the first one you'll never guess, and that's they get 3 minutes to present. And as I said, that is very strict. They're disqualified if it goes anywhere over time, so that in itself is something. The video entries, there's strict rules about how videos are filmed, and the audio must be continuous, so that's one take only. So the competitors were not able to film and edit and take and retake and patch that together. It's a one take only situation. So you can imagine how much work goes into preparing that. One slide, as I said, and it has to be static, so you don't get the good old PowerPoint animations. There are no other visual aids other than just the one slide allowed. There's no sound effects, no animations, and our contestants are barred from using any props, costumes, performative elements, no poems, raps, or singing. Those are the rules. So, it is important to note, though, that while the entries had to be filmed, entrants aren't judged on their filming or editing skills. It's not about that. It's about their ability to present their research, not their technical skill with the filming. So there are 2 key criteria, and I'll read those out to you so you know how our competitors have been judged. The first one's around information, and the judges would call that comprehension and content. So in this category, judges are looking for presentations to meet 3 things. The presentations needed to provide clear motivation, background, and significance to the research question. That was number 1. Number 2, clearly describe the research strategy, design, and the results and findings of the research, so that research process distilled down. And number 3, clearly described the conclusions, outcomes, and impact of the research. So that's really the technical bit, the information, which in itself is a skill to distill to a lay audience. And then we come to the presentation criteria. So that is engagement and communication. So what were the judges looking for there? Well, language appropriate for non-specialist audience. It's not a conference of like-minded individuals in your own discipline, and that makes it more challenging. Slide well-defined and enhance the presentation. And of course, the presenter conveying some enthusiasm for their research and capturing and maintaining your attention as the audience. Equally weighted, those 2 categories. So those who succeed in the 3MT competition, they needed to balance that technical skill of presenting the research with their presentation style and the slide to go with it. So we're about to watch these slides, and that's these finalists' presentations on video, and that's what you're here for. They've been randomly selected in terms of the order, and I would like to introduce to you now the first presenter, or the first video of the presenter, and that is from Linda Kirkpatrick, who's doing her PhD with the Department of Economics and Finance in the Faculty of Business, Economics and Law, and also in the Faculty of Health and Environmental Sciences. And her presentation is titled MIMBY, Maybe in My Backyard. Are residents worse off when there is social housing development in their neighbourhood?
Residents fear antisocial outcomes from social housing in Millwater. We often see headlines like this crop up in the news, and we know this term as NIMBYism, or not in my backyard, where residents are opposed to urban development, particularly social housing development, in their neighbourhood. Drivers for this sentiment include fear of antisocial behaviours from social housing tenants and neighbourhoods with social housing appearing less desirable and attractive. Kāinga Ora is the government agency responsible for the provision of social housing and urban development in New Zealand. These developments have the potential to deliver better outcomes, not just for social housing tenants, but for all residents, by providing better housing and neighbourhood amenities. Since 2018, they have built 10,000 new homes, and there are another 30,000 on the way in the next 10 to 15 years. However, even with ongoing development, the demand for social housing outstrips the supply. As of March 2024, there were 26,000 people on the social housing waitlist. So I wanted to see, are residents really worse off when there is social housing in the neighbourhood? I have housing intensification data from Kāinga Ora, which allows me to identify which Auckland neighbourhoods are being developed, and I have population-wide administrative data, which allows me to identify everyone in Auckland who lived in social housing and who didn't between 2015 to 2021. So if more social housing development is bad for the neighbourhood, then we should see worse outcomes for residents in areas with social housing development, I call this treated population, compared to areas without social housing development, I call this the control population. I use a modelling method called difference in differences that allows me to treat housing intensification as a natural experiment, which allows me to test the differences between the treated and control populations. And what I find is, for non-social housing residents living in treated areas, they are no more likely to be victims of assaults, thefts, or robberies, nor do they have higher mental health utilisation compared to control residents. When looking at population composition, treated residents have the same earnings, the same level of people receiving benefits, and there's only a small difference in those with a bachelor's degree compared to the control population. So social housing tenants aren't the antisocial neighbours they are painted out to be. The mental health of treated residents isn't any different to the control residents, and the treated neighbourhoods look like the control neighbourhoods. They have not descended into a dystopia. So to summarise, we know that New Zealand faces substantial housing challenges, and social housing is one means to provide accommodation for those who really need it. The evidence shows there are no negative impacts on non-social housing residents living in these areas, and so if we can provide accommodation for those who really need it, no one is worse off, then maybe, yeah, maybe in my backyard.
Well, Linda, thank you for that presentation. It's certainly a contemporarily relevant topic internationally, nationally, and most certainly in this conurbation that we call Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. Thank you, Linda. So our next presentation is from Ryan Howard. The title of Ryan's presentation is A Flash of Ingenuity. Deep sea squid eyes are optimized for bioluminescent communication. Now, Ryan is undertaking his PhD in the Faculty of Health and Environmental Sciences within the School of Science.
Imagine living in a world with crushing pressure, near freezing temperatures, and eternal darkness, but still relying on your eyes to find food and avoid being eaten. It's fascinating to think any animal can see in those conditions, yet every day billions of squids use vision to survive in the deep sea. My research is aimed at understanding the adaptation squids have evolved to be visually successful in the dark. The first clue to understanding why squids have excellent vision can be found in their similarity to us, humans. The closest common ancestor between humans and squids resembled an eyeless worm that lived nearly 600 million years ago, and yet we have both independently evolved the same camera-like eye design. Let me explain that. Inside traditional cameras, light imprints an image of your subject onto film. Similarly, inside camera-type eyes, light imprints an image of the environment onto a retina. However, the retina works a bit differently than film. In the retina, microscopic photoreceptor cells use a protein to convert light into images you, or a squid, might see. Except squids are colorblind. They have a single visual protein that is tuned to optimally absorb a specific wavelength of light based on the needs of the species. That absorbance can be measured and tells us which color of light the squid is most sensitive to. Now you might be wondering, how can squids see in the deep when there's no sunlight? Well, light in the deep sea can be created by bioluminescent organisms. In fact, the deep sea is so large that bioluminescence may be the single most used form of communication on Earth. Many species of squids also use bioluminescence, including a genus of large squids found in New Zealand known as Taningia, which have the largest bioluminescent organs in the animal kingdom, about the size of a lemon. However, while bioluminescence in the ocean is blue, surprisingly, the bioluminescence from Taningia is a yellowish-green color, seen here on the left. Occasionally, specimens are collected from fishing bycatch and brought to the lab where I can extract the visual protein from the retinas and measure its absorbance. And what I found is fascinating. It seems Taningia have tuned their vision to better see the same yellowish-green light their bioluminescence emits. Since squids are colorblind, Taningia would perceive their bioluminescence as light brighter than what other squids would see, like the figure shown here on the right. This suggests that Taningia use their unique combination of vision and bioluminescence to communicate over vast distances underwater, while allowing their light to remain relatively imperceivable to predators that are not well attuned to see light from the green to yellow spectrum. These findings are significant because the 2020s have been declared the Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development by the United Nations. Never has humanity explored the deep sea as vigorously as we are right now, which requires equipment outfitted with bright white lights that can damage the eyesight of nearby animals, including squids. Reconfiguring our deep sea lighting systems to emit wavelengths of light that squids are most sensitive to, such as light from the green to yellow spectrum in the case of Taningia, could prevent us from injuring passing individuals. It's a sentiment I'm sure that Taningia will appreciate. After all, it's already hard enough to see in the world as dark as the deep sea.
Ryan, thank you for that fascinating insight into the dark, or maybe not so dark, world of the deep depths of Taningia. Our final video this afternoon is from Varuna Virasikara from the School of Sport and Recreation within the Faculty of Health and Environmental Sciences. And his presentation is titled Defensive CGMs, a Behavioural Approach in Diabetes Care.
I'd like to invite you to visualize yourself living inside a modern room with no windows and no access to your weather reports. If you were to leave the room and go outside the building for a walk, would you carry an umbrella or raincoat with you? Because there's that possibility it could rain any time. Now compare that to a situation where you can see it raining outside the window. And now if you had to go outside the room for a walk, would you carry an umbrella or raincoat with you? Most of us would, isn't it? I can see you nodding. Most of us are likely to show an improved response or the most appropriate behavior if we can see what's happening in real time. And that is exactly the concept I shall explore in my diabetic research. And for this, I'll be using continuous glucose monitors or CGM devices. Now these CGM devices are very cool devices. They're normally worn at the back of your arm and they provide me with my blood glucose information in real time directly to my phone app. So effectively, CGM devices are giving me a window into my own body. And so my primary question is to see how effective CGM devices are at eliciting the all-important behavioral responses, changes to dietary patterns and or physical activity levels in diabetic patients. My research is spread across 3 different studies, with the first one being a scoping review. The scoping review is like a reconnaissance mission where I identify what the gaps are, what methodologies have been deployed already in CGM studies done around the world, and what CGM-related goals are worth pursuing. My second study is where I qualitatively and quantitatively analyze an existing data set of blood glucose and behavioral information obtained from a small sample of diabetic patients. Now these 2 studies will inform the design and execution of my third and largest study, which is a clinical trial. It is also a randomized controlled trial. In this trial, I shall qualitatively and quantitatively assess the behavioral, clinical, and psychosocial changes you would see in pre-diabetic and diabetic patients who have access to their O&C gym data, as opposed to pre-diabetic and diabetic patients who only rely on diabetic education as guidance without any of their O&C gym data. For this trial, the primary group of patients I shall recruit as subjects are Mare Pacifica patients, because we know our Mare Pacifica communities are predisposed to type 2 diabetes, and we want to see if we can make an impact there. Type 2 diabetes is a killer disease. It kills 1 every 5 seconds somewhere on Earth. So it is our hope that CGM devices would act as an intervention tool and would be the fence at the top of the diabetic mountain, arresting progression of this condition at the pre-diabetic and diabetic stages, so that we don't have to put up with so many diabetic ambulances at the bottom of this mountain. Thank you for your attention.
Vanuna, 1 death every 5 seconds. That is quite the scourge. And so congratulations for tackling that and doing that with a clinical trial. You are a brave man. Well done. So that concludes the 3 presentations. And now grab your devices out. You'll see the QR code pop up in just a second on the screen. Now, in a nice little symmetry, you're going to guess how long you get to cast this vote. 3 minutes. So it's your 3-minute competition. Now, while you are doing that, I'd very much like to invite Professor Mark Orams, Deputy Vice-Chancellor Research, and of course one of our 4 judges, back up to the podium to say some words on behalf of all 4 judges. Mark.
Kia ora, Nigel. Now, I suppose the challenge for me is the 3 minutes. I'm just full of admiration for people who can do what we've just seen our 3 finalists do and try to encapsulate such complex and important work in such a short period of time. So congratulations to all of you. On behalf of Lukman and Michelle and Madeline, my fellow judges, there are a few reflections that I wanted to share. Let me just start with one personal reflection, if I might. One of the reasons I love my job is because we have so many amazing and diverse research projects going on across our university. Over 1,000 postgraduate research students at AUT and many hundreds of colleagues who are undertaking research in such a diverse range of areas. And in the 3 finalists, you've seen examples of that. We have marine science work going on, we have clinical health trials going on, and we have work looking at some of the social issues associated with social housing. So that's just a little snapshot of this enormous range of important and valuable research that's undertaken at our university. And it is an exciting thing to be involved with. In terms of feedback from the judges, we were all impressed, and of course a difficult job to choose the one winner. We felt that there were occasionally some pacing issues, as you can imagine, and you can see the presenters kind of watching the clock and speeding up and slowing down to kind of meet the time limit. Completely understandable. But of course, all 3 were very capable and finishing in the time frame, or else they got the disqualification, so they had to be. They were very clear in articulating their research method and design, and that's quite tricky to do because that's usually quite complex. And we found that the use for some of metaphors or analogies was a powerful way to have a lay audience or a non-scientific audience understand what they were trying to get across. There were a few opportunities we felt that were missed, understanding the time restrictions, for perhaps just outlining some of the potential implications of the research or benefits longer term. But overall, we felt that all 3 finalists were outstanding and we were delighted to select them as finalists. Their research was robust, valuable, clearly is going to have beneficial impacts. And each of them did an amazing job of communicating in a very challenging circumstance. So on behalf of the judging panel, congratulations. We're very proud of you and what you've accomplished, and we'll look forward to announcing the winner in a few short minutes' time. So there's the feedback from the judges. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Mark, thank you. So we now need to allow the technical team a little bit of time to compile those votes. It shouldn't take too long. And so I'm going to invite you to talk amongst yourselves for a moment. I believe that it's imminent, so I will be right back with you as soon as that award is ready. Stay there. Would you like to know who won? Well, it is a pleasure to invite... Mark's had a busy week. He's had a long week. Te Wiki Rangaho, the week of the Research Week, AUT Research Week. And as part of that, I'd love to invite Mark back up to present our winners with their award. I think we're supposed to be over here, Mark. So.
Right. This is the fun part. Not because the Research Week's coming to an end, because we get to hand out some goodies and to recognise our prize winners. But before Nigel announces that, irrespective of who's selected as the prize winners, I again want to congratulate our 3 finalists and their supervisors and those who support them, because this is not an easy challenge to meet, and to even decide to step forward and to have the courage to put something like this together is something that does deserve recognition. Often putting yourself out there, particularly, I know if you're anything like me, there's a bit of cringe factor when you see yourself on a video and you hear your own voice back, right? So even stepping into that space deserves some acknowledgement and congratulations. So congratulations to the 3 of you and to all who've supported you in putting these 3MT videos together. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Mark. And so the first award is the audience vote announcement. That's the one, obviously, that you've chosen with your QR code scanning. And just a reminder that your favourite presenter will win a $500 research award from the Graduate Research School. So the results are in, and the winner of the AUT 3 Minute Thesis 2024 Audience Vote Award is Varuna Virasakara. You need to come on up, Varuna.
Come and get your dosh, Varuna, and your certificate. Congratulations, my friend. Very well done. And I also want to just acknowledge, not only is it courageous to do something like this, but when English is not your first language or you're unfamiliar with sort of the New Zealand accent, the New Zealand way of speaking, again, that takes courage to do that, to step into that space. So well done, my friend. Congratulations.
Okay, time to announce the overall winner of the AUT 3MT competition 2024. And a reminder, they will receive an HP ProBook X360 435 G9 with a pen from ICT and the Apart supplier Cyclone, and a $500 research award from the Graduate Research School, the GRS. And the overall winner of the AUT 3 Minute Thesis Award for 2024 is Ryan Howard.
Well done, Ryan.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much. Yes,
Yes, wonderful presentation.
Thank you,
Great,
thank you.
great project.
It's an honor, absolutely.
And don't forget the dosh and the special little present there as well.
I do not think I will forget that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And just on behalf of the judges, acknowledging Ryan's presentation, his pace, his ability to actually bring to life something that for many of us, in fact, for all of us in the room, probably except Ryan and his supervisors, is a completely foreign world. And so for him to be able to bring that sort of to life, just with his description verbally, it made us as judges think about what a shame it is that the rules of the competition don't allow the use of props and visual aids and so on, because we could just see an amazing opportunity to start with a black screen and then have the bioluminescence come out of the darkness and wearing a squid hat and all of that sort of is off limits and not available, unfortunately, because of the rules of the competition. But despite the constraints of the rules, Ryan did a great job of providing a really compelling image of why this work and research is important, placing it in the context of not only a fascinating and different environment and different creatures, but why it's important from a conservation perspective in the current context of the decade of ocean research as well. So he really put together a really compelling package in such a short period of time. And so we're very proud to award Ryan our AUT award for 2024, and he goes to represent all of us at the Asia Pacific Finals. So we wish you well for that, Ryan, and look forward to seeing how you get on there. Kia ora koutou.
And I may have overstepped a little bit today. I did bring a prop today, so if you're curious of what a Teningio looks like, it's life size over there, and you can ask about it later.
Very good. Thanks, Ryan. Can see you're already an absolute squid ambassador, so nicely done. Yeah. Thank you, Nigel.
Don't go too far, Mark. You can have a seat for just a moment. But first of all, a round of thanks. First of all, to our sponsors, Graduate Research School, ICT Services with their Supply Services Cyclone, to our judges. And thank you very much, all four of you, for the work, the mahi that you've put into this and your consideration. It's a tough job, and it takes time and energy, and it's hugely valuable. Thank you for your mahi, your time. And thank you to you here who have come today to celebrate with us, kanohi ki te kanohi, face to face. It's always nice to convene in person and experience the celebration of just being with each other in these moments. So thank you for coming. And also to those of you on our live stream, thank you for joining us today. It's also hugely valuable to have you with us from wherever you are viewing this. Thank you, ngā mihi nui kia koutou. And so with that, as I mentioned, it has been a big week. It's been a big day, it's been a big event for those competitors, but it's been a big week, the AUT Research Week, it's Wiki Rangahau, and it's most fitting to ask Professor Mark Orams back up, our Deputy Vice-Chancellor, research to conclude not just this moment, but also the Research Week. So, Mark, the final moment for you. Thank you.
Kia ora, Nigel. Appreciate the opportunity to just reflect on this week. We made a decision 2 years ago to bring a week together where, as a community, we could come together to focus exclusively on research. We chose the mid-semester break of the second semester, recognising that there was not going to be a perfect time for everybody, but we wanted to take it outside of the teaching commitments so that staff and students are involved, recognising that many students, postgraduate research students, are also involved in assisting with teaching and marking and lab assistance and other work. So we decided to have it during this particular mid-semester break. We also decided that we would absolutely involve postgraduate research students because you are an integral and important part of our research community. So research at universities doesn't just happen with the academic staff. It doesn't just happen with our postgraduate research students. It also happens with the professional staff who support all of that endeavour, whether they are people who work to help with clinics and labs, whether they are people who are supporting schools and some of the finance work that needs to happen, whether they're people within the graduate research school. So we wanted to also be inclusive and to recognise their contributions as part of our research community. And this year in particular, we wanted to emphasise the importance for us as a university of the partners that we have from outside of our university. These are collaborators who work in government agencies, in hospitals, who work in the not-for-profit sector, in private businesses. So these are people who are important to us as members of our research community who we partner with. And so this year, bringing those outsiders into the university and making sure that they know that they are part of whānau AUT was a major focus for us. So we've had 22 events over the course of this week. And those 22 events have been enormously diverse as the 3 finalists that we've just celebrated late this afternoon. We've had events on our North Campus in the new building over there in Tukutuku. We've had events throughout this particular campus as well. It's important for me to acknowledge the people who've done an enormous amount of work behind the scenes in Te Wiki Rangahau. So I want to acknowledge our Researcher Education and Development Unit team. It's a small, high-performing team led by Dr. Anais Irvine. So thank you, Anais, for all of your work. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Michelle Ludwig-Williams, who's down the back here in that wonderful dress. Thank you, Michelle, for all of your work. And we're very fortunate to have Katie join us both years we've had AUT Research Week, to help us with all of the logistics and the communication and the scheduling and the run sheets and the bookings, and all of that takes an enormous amount of work. You can think about 22 events. We've got, as you've seen today, live stream. We've got the need for coordinating and putting together run sheets so that people know where they're supposed to be, when and where, and what they're supposed to say. And so Anais and Michelle and Katie have had such an important role with regard to that. So please join me in just acknowledging those 3 people and the enormous amount of work they've put into this week. Thank you. Now, Anais and her team sit within the wonderful team called the Graduate Research School. And Nigel leads that team, but all of them pitch in. And so I want to acknowledge all of the Graduate Research School team whānau, and in particular to acknowledge that a number of them have been struggling with illness over the last couple of weeks. So there have been others who've had to step in and to cover. And so there's been a lot that's gone on behind the scenes to make this week happen. Also want to acknowledge that across our university, there have been people who've stepped up from departments and schools and research centres and institutes and groups who've all decided to pitch in and to make AUT Research Week something very special. We're building some real momentum here at AUT. We're really proud of who we are as a university. We are deliberately and proudly applied and practical in the way that we go about our research, and we look to partner and to share our research with our wider outside AUT community. So it's been my great privilege to be involved in this week. This is the last of the week's activities, and so we'll all go and have a nice rest over the weekend and then back into our normal activities as we commence the last part of semester 2 from Monday next week. So thank you for allowing me to share a few reflections. Thank you to all our ICT, IT services people who've made this seamless, our photographer. We've had a number of other people who've contributed as well. So what I'm going to do now before we say farewell is just to close with a karakia, and then we'll wish you well on your way to wherever you're going this evening. Kia ora tātou. Unuhia, unuhia. Unuhia ki te uru tapunui. Kia wātia, kia mama, kia nākau, te tinana, te wairua, I te ara tākatā. Koe rā I rongo, whakairia, ake ki runga, kia tina. Homi e hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora koutou katoa, ka kite. Please, if you're travelling back home, travel back home safely. Have a nice, relaxing and safe weekend. And thank you again for your participation and contributions to this event. Kia ora.